this is extraordinary. All of you here today gathered on a Saturday morning at this conference to talk about Darfur, to talk about genocide prevention, to talk about human rights is really an inspiration for me. And it is one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a long time. I'm sure that many of you saw this in the news, but on Thursday, the World Health Organization came out with a new report. 3/4 of the people in South Sudan have no access to medical care. 10% of the children in South Sudan and Darfur die before their first birthday. 15% of the children in Darfur are malnourished, and malaria, meningitis, and diarrhea are rampant. These figures are among the highest in the world. There are only 10 qualified nurses in South Sudan, which has a population of 8 million. In South Sudan, NGOs provide 80% of all health services, but only reach 25% of the population. In Darfur, where the government expelled 13 humanitarian organizations and shut down 3 local Sudanese aid groups, outbreaks of deadly diseases like cholera and tuberculosis are running rampant. It doesn't take a gun to commit genocide. Germs can work just as well. And in April, as Jerry pointed out, I and several other members of Congress stood shoulder to shoulder with Jerry Fowler of Save Darfur, John Prendergast with the Enough Campaign, Sam Bell with Genocide Intervention Network, and Rabbi David Saperstein with the Religious Action Center. And we protested and we carried out civil disobedience in front of the Embassy of Sudan about the expulsion of the humanitarian aid workers from Darfur. I have to admit that we had a nice male bonding session in the local jail along with Congressman John Lewis and Keith Ellison. For those of you who don't know John Lewis, he was the first person you saw on the film and literally almost lost his life marching on behalf of civil rights during the 1960s, and he's an incredible inspiration. But I was proud to have stood with all of them. But we cannot wait another 1, 2, or 3 years to protest again, to stand in front of the Sudanese embassy and to call once again for an end to genocide. It has to end now. And the president says he has a plan, and he's announced a strategy. And it's a pretty good strategy. But the devil is in the details. The devil is in the commitment. The devil is in what's still missing from the plan, like the resources to protect people right now, and the resources to keep South Sudan from falling back into violence, and the commitment to bring others to the table and make sure a just and lasting peace is forged and carried out. And the devil is in the follow-through. There are others here today who can talk in more detail about this, and you'll be having more workshops on these topics. But let me tell you one thing. You, everybody in this hall, is essential to peace. Everyone in this great room here today is essential to ending genocide in Darfur and ending human rights abuses in Burma and the Congo and building the peace and the very future of Sudan. You are basically the engine and the energy that is going to change the reality for millions and millions of people in some of these most difficult places in the world. You know, I used to have a history professor who always used to say to me that the world will not get better on its own. I never quite knew what the hell he meant when he was teaching me this, but the older I get, the more I see the wisdom in those words. Nothing, and I mean nothing, gets better on its own. Good people have to come together and fight to make things better. Genocides will go on. Wars will go on. Human rights abuses will go on. Hunger will go on. Disease will go on unless good people like you come together and demand change. Every day when I see on my desk the latest news from Sudan, I can't help but feel sick and tired of reading the same stuff over and over and over again. I'm sick and tired of the killing. I'm sick and tired of humanitarian groups getting booted out of places in Darfur. I'm sick and tired of reading about the terrible plight of the people in the refugee camps, not only in Sudan, but in Chad. But you know what? I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. And you should be too. We cannot... United States Congressman, and as a citizen of this country that I love, I want this country to stand out loud and foursquare for human rights. I think Obama is great, but I want him to be greater. I love Hillary, but I want to have a reason to love her a little bit more. And this is where all of you come in. You know, when you write your members of Congress, when you visit your members of Congress, and you visit your senators, you know, you're going to find very few of them who will say that they are pro-genocide or pro-human rights violations. Instead, they will tell you that they feel your pain and they feel your anguish over what you see and what you have read. Well, we don't want anybody's empathy or sympathy. We don't care if they want to bond with us on that feeling of anguish. What you want is their vote. What you want is them to get behind legislation, to get behind this White House when it's going to take some very positive and dramatic steps to end all of this. You need to make sure that your representative knows that this is important to you. And if he or she is not with you on this issue, then you won't be with them in November, no matter what their political party is. This is too important. I thank all of you for being here. And I believe we are going to be the solution here. I believe things are going to change. And I believe that this administration and this president, with your support and your love and your pressure and your incredible powers of persuasion, this administration is going to do some incredible things. So thank you for being here. Have a good conference today, and we're going to make a difference here on these issues.